Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. An update from Ukraine. Not a good day for the Ukrainians, unfortunately for them, because the Russians launched 172 drones on Ukraine, launched a ballistic missile strike in Kryvyi Rih, and the Ukrainians claim that the Russians are preparing a massive offensive on the entire front. 6 to 9 months offensive across Ukraine front. Then we find out, according to the Ukrainians, that they gained ground. The Ukrainian gained ground in Belgorod, that is in Russia. That's a little mini more offensive of the Ukrainian troops, not from Kursk. Now they switched a little bit south into Belgorod. But supposedly the Russians advance in Kursk, Zaporizhzhya and Donetsk Oblast. Another topic, the Russian army seized another town in Kursk, advancing towards the border with Ukraine. So these are the topics of this video, or the main headlines. Let's start with the first one. This comes from Ukrainska Pravda. Ukraine's air defense shuts down 94 UAVs overnight. The Russians launched 172 attack drones on Ukraine on the 28th to 29th of March. They say they downed 94 and 69 just disappeared. So what did they do? They launched them from Milerovo, Kursk and Primorsko-Akhtarsk, as well as Cape Shauda in a temporary occupied Crimea. Milerovo, Kursk, Primorsko-Akhtarsk. So Milerovo is right here in the east, right there in Russia. Kursk, Primorsko-Akhtarsk is right here in Russia again, and Cape Shauda is exactly here in Crimean Peninsula, exactly this. So south, southeast, south, southeast, east, and Kursk northeast. Let's see what they attacked. Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Sumy Oblast. All right, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv and Sumy. This is across from Kursk, remember. So Sumy, Kharkiv, Kharkov, Dnipropetrovsk, right here. The same thing from New Voice of Ukraine. Russia attacks Ukraine with 172 drones, 94 downed. Now, here we have another topic. 8 people injured in Russian ballistic missile strike on Kryvyi Rih in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. We're going to find out where that is. All right, where is that Kryvyi Rih? In Dnipropetrovsk. Oh, this is Dnipropetrovsk right here, and Kryvyi Rih, I think, is right here, Kryvyi Rih, right there. Now, this is across from Kherson. So this is where the Russians again attacked. The Russians struck here somewhere in the north here a while ago, what they claim about like 40 mercenaries or something, like training grounds north of Kryvyi Rih or Kryvyi Rih. All right, let's see how many missiles they launched. They say ballistic missiles, so that's plural. Russian ballistic missiles struck this town in Dnipropetrovsk on March 29th, damaging high rises in infrastructure. All right, let's see, 7 people, a car, pralalaka. Let's see how many. All right, doesn't say right here. Issued ballistic threats from the southeast, later pop towards drones and nothing. They don't tell us about, okay, this is one, but let's go to the other one. How many ballistic missiles? It says with a ballistic missile, but here they say in the other article ballistic missiles, so that's plural. Nevertheless, I showed you where it hit them in Kryvyi Rih. Next one, this is more important than that ballistic missile strike. According to the Ukrainians, and they use Associated Press, Kremlin prepares to launch a multi-vector offensive along the 1,000-kilometer line of contact. 1,000-kilometer line of contact. That is from here to here. I don't think they consider this one as well, but hey, maybe they do. Let's go and see what do they mean. Russian troops are preparing for a new offensive in the coming weeks to intensify pressure on Ukraine and strengthen the Kremlin's position in ceasefire negotiations. Analysts said that the new offensive could last from 6 to 9 months. That's a big offensive, don't you think? New Voice of Ukraine. Russia preparing 6 to 9 months offensive across Ukrainian front. Russian forces are gearing up for a major offensive in the coming weeks to maximize pressure to win the war. Putin said we're going to fishing them off yesterday. All right, it says, with spring approaching, the Kremlin is preparing to assault multiple sections of the front, potentially stretching over 1,000 kilometers. So why don't you do the same thing? Oh, you can't. Okay. They are preparing offensive actions on the front that should last from 6 to 9 months, almost all of 2025. Okay, that's the one. Next one. This is from New Voice of Ukraine, the 29th of March. Ukrainian forces gain ground in Belgorod. Where is Belgorod? Right here. So they attack. This is the location where they attack, right here. Then they call it Dnipropetrovsk. This is the border with, how do you call it? Kursk. I always have to think about the Kursk battle in the Second World War, otherwise I can't remember Kursk. You know, the major tank battle between the Germans and the Soviets. So this is Kursk right here, where the invasion is dying. This is Sudza. This is the latest, or the last pouches, I don't know how to call them, of the Ukrainians or whomever invaded. And now they're trying to do it in Belgorod, which is, as I said, right here. Let's see what the article says. So Ukrainian forces gain ground in Belgorod. Russia advances in Kursk, Zaporizhzhya and Donetsk. Okay, so Kursk, we already know where is Kursk, right here, right? Kursk, I think it must Zaporizhzhya and Donetsk. All right, Zaporizhzhya, it's right here, and then Donetsk obviously is Pokrovsk and Toretsk right here. This is Pokrovsk, Toretsk is right here, and Izum right here. But they don't say anything about Kupiansk, which is going to be probably surrounded pretty soon. All right, and the last topic is this. According to Sputnik, Russian army seizes Ukrainian strongpoint near Kursk border. This is exactly what the Ukrainians claimed in this one. So the Russians advance in Kursk, and where is that? Again, in Kursk, where the NATO attack using the Ukrainians occurred, in here. So the Russians are gaining another, or at least advancing here towards the border with Ukraine. I read all this thing and I couldn't find any mention of any town. Fighters of the Guards Airborne Assault on Kursk regiment from Fedosia have captured a key Ukrainian armed forces stronghold in the Kursk border region. The Russian, okay, what's their stronghold? Not even the location, is the Kursk region by the border. Assault unit from the Guard Airborne Assault on Cossack regiment from Fedosia seized an important Ukrainian stronghold in the Kursk border region. Artillery provided support to the assault troops by suppressing enemy fire before the paratroopers launched their attack on the Ukrainian position. Ura! And that's it. Important. The new offensive. Well, if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.